On this channel, I talk a lot about spirituality, existentialism, what we're doing here, how we got here, who put us here, what we're doing, and I talk about belief systems like Christianity, and I talk about the aesthetic of not giving away your faith to anything, but finding peace in knowing and not knowing. We don't have to come to any conclusion about what this is. We just learn the things we learn. Lots of it is through trial and error because we don't really have adequate mentorship here. And a lot of people go their whole lives believing all kinds of things that aren't true. I have changed my belief system so many times. And now my belief system is kind of not to believe in things other than the felt presence of immediate experience, which means whatever you experience internally and externally is the most real thing. So I guess even if you have a spiritual experience, and I think a lot of the spiritual experiences people have are religious ones. So if that works for you, that's great, but a lot of beliefs are toxic as far as they exclude other people or diminish other people because they don't believe in that and they're secular and or lost or whatever. And there are a lot of people like that, which is true, but we're all on our own journeys, and a lot of people are doing their best. Maybe if they had a spiritual experience like you, they would also believe the same thing, but we all experience things differently. And spiritualism, it's not that I don't believe in God or like the universe or like our origins. I think we're so much more than this. And I don't believe in the God of the Old Testament. Well, no, there probably is that, but I believe that is the demiurge. And maybe it's like the demiurge is a victim to its own like jealousy and it wanting to be the ultimate god, and there's a lot of control and manipulation involved in that, with the ultimatum of you must believe or else you're gonna go to hell, whether it's internal or an actual physical place. That's a toxic belief. If it's, I mean, this is kind of hell, and if there is like reincarnation and people get stuck here and after you die you end up coming through another cervix like, and just showing up here again, I have hopes I'll escape. I've been a seeker my whole life, and there are things I've realized over time after trying some beliefs and realizing the poor aesthetic in that. And I've come to this place of more universal compassion because everyone here is manipulated. We're left in the dark, and we have all these narratives of all these people telling us what's going on and often abasing ourselves. You might call it entitlement to think that we do know best or whatever, because we are pretty naive, but you should trust yourself and your intuition outside of any ideology or faith in the unknown or what is outside of our experience here. What's the origins of things? I don't want to say any should or shouldn't, but there are... It's been a huge antidepressant for me to not give away my faith. Because when you give away your faith, you're giving away your power to something else that dictates what reality is. And that's the toxic part that I'm talking about. Because it's... I think we aren't I don't think we are depraved or fallen. I don't think we're born into sin. I don't think we're perfect either. But I think when it comes to ignorance and naivety, we aren't as responsible. Like, and whatever your morals are. All right, here's another hot take. I think everything is determined here. I think there is a great amount of, I guess you'd call it predestination, but everything is kind of set here. And I've noticed that in my life because I've tried to take different paths and the same kind of things happen. I can't seem to get out of this kind of path that I've been on where I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to bring awareness and have community, strengthen community, and raise the morale. And even though we do live in kind of a dystopic realm, where we've just been gaslit over generations, over millennia. And all I can tell you is my anecdote that I feel so much more free, not giving away my faith to any kind of Christian ideology. Even though you have the hope of heaven and all that, imagination is the new frontier. Like, if I can imagine worlds where it's like there's an infinitude, a limitless possibility of worlds out there. And you may say it's just conceptual because it's all in the imagination, but the universe is huge. It's massive. There's worlds out there that are probably hollow earths and very advanced societies where people aren't constantly, it's like regurgitating the same crap, and people are actually experiencing all kinds of new things. There's probably spaceships out there the size of Manhattan, and if this technology is possible, there's way more advanced possibilities. Like, we are infantile compared to the possibilities of what we could be and how we could live our lives. And I don't want to reduce it in any kind of way, because I hear a lot of people say, well, if things were more ideal and more utopic here, it would just be boring because we wouldn't have any challenges. That is such a limited, myopic way of thinking. There is an infinitude of challenges and things to learn that aren't toxic. There's an infinitude of creativity. Creativity is truly the final frontier. Imagination is truly the final frontier. And we barely get a slice of that here. And we have to work so hard, oftentimes, to get out of this cyclical, toxic, just constantly going through the same bullshit over and over. The same falling out of relationships, the same depressions and anxieties. It's just like, we are ready for more. We were meant for so much more than this limited, like, repetitive prison. Like, this is a hell in a lot of ways. It's a heaven for some people. Like, if it was hell for everyone, I think we'd catch on and people would really actually come together. But the way it is set up right now is some people do get a nice, smooth life. And if I had had that, I probably wouldn't have anything like this. I'd be a totally different person. But I have struggled through life. And I have had some good experiences, and those have given me perspective to the infinitude of possibilities that we haven't even tapped into yet. And it's like the Demiurge is like Mr. Smith in The Matrix. It's this, like, they can, like, there's probably non-player characters here. Like, we don't know. But I think anyone that can think outside of the ideologies and not regurgitate just the same belief systems that have been going on for so long, people who can think creatively are probably like people with actual souls, whereas people that just regurgitate the same stuff that they've heard are possibly NPCs, like as far as non-player characters, like just other people here that aren't, like, they don't have maybe a life outside of this one. I think that we're in this life, but we're also outside of it. Like, we could wake up from this like a dream, and it was just like, wow, well, that was crazy. But here people are so attached to life, even with as dystopic as it is. People are so afraid to die here. And I'm like, when I pass away, oh, it's gonna be such a burden released from this mortal trap of our minds. Because these archons that I keep talking about, the archons of the demiurge, like our minds are their real estate. This matrix is their world, and they control it. But we are actually more advanced than them, even in our tiny existence, because they just do the same things over and over, just using people, exploiting people. They're basically energy vampires. And once you realize that, I mean, yeah, it can be scary and dystopic, but you're actually more powerful as a sentient being, sovereign sentience. Like, own that, and move in that space. Orient yourself in that way. And at least for me, it's been revolutionary. It's been tremendous of an experience. Even through all my mental toughness and all my struggles, it's been a profound evolution for me. And like, looking back, it's kind of a travesty that I believe that stuff, but like in the past when I've given away my faith, and you know, I wouldn't have been that way had I had knowledge or perceived things without giving away my faith. And to not give away your faith, to have the humility to just be in that place of like, hey, I don't know what this is. Probably find out later. And there's peace in that. There's peace in that. There's beauty in that. There's simplicity in that. There's freedom in that, if I didn't already say that. So I want to encourage the world in that way. I am a community member. I am all about community. But I'm also all about evolving myself. And if we helped each other more, I've been too much of a giver before. Because when it's not reciprocated, like, it feels like you're just throwing your pearls to swine. And they just get trampled because they're not intelligent enough to value the energy and the authenticity and the grace and servitude in helping this world evolve and really thinking for yourself. Not regurgitating these same belief systems that clearly are not working. Maybe they're working for you, but are they? Or is it just you procured some kind of thing to give you hope? Because you feel like you need hope, because you believe the narrative that we're fallen creatures and that God is just this perfect being that has no tolerance for that. No, a God of true unconditional love is like a father or a mother. Unconditional love, that means you don't put ultimatums on people of heaven and hell and all that. You work with them to grow, you teach them, you lead through example. That's my aesthetic. I want to lead through example, and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say things that later on I'm like, oh, either I didn't mean that or I don't believe that anymore. And that's okay. You know, I don't judge that. This is just my experience now. This is just my anecdote, like now. Yeah, it's a wild world that we live in here. But I do have a lot of hope, because imagination is a beautiful thing, and there's so many possibilities. We have so much potential. We were made for so much more. And the more we come to realize that, the more we can value each other, and we can be in more of a state of fascination and wonder and being astounded by these awesome modes of being and states of mind and creativity, which I think is what we're here for. Like, we abase ourselves as humans and say, oh, we're just a disease to this planet and stuff, which maybe that's us, but maybe that's the entities controlling us, because we are very susceptible to manipulation. We're very impressionable, just like children are. And I'm not shaming that. I'm just stating the facts. Let's not judge that, okay? Let's give grace to each other for our circumstance and move forward in a copacetic way with grace and patience and understanding for each other as we grow in this convoluted, confusing world. And I think it's important to put reason over faith. Like, trust your felt presence of experience. That's the primacy of felt experience. It trumps any belief system, because belief systems often deviate from what, like, we're experiencing in this matrix, like the reality of this matrix. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. But I really want to see change. I really want to, like, the reason I'm doing this channel is for community, for starting a conversation about these things. And if I had the finances, I would make a venue. I would make community spaces. I would create something that hasn't been created, at least in my area, because everything here is so centered around profit and just making money, and instead of, it's basically, as Terence McKenna said, dominator society versus partnership society, where our priority is our community and each other, instead of just trying to make profit and exploiting or taking advantage of our resources and each other and our time here, just being workaholics and just draining ourselves and each other with unnatural amount of more production labor instead of creative labor, which creative labor, maybe labor isn't even the right word. It's more of playfulness. We are, like, there's lots of forces and things at play here. And I think that's what we're here to do. A lot of it is us playing with darkness.